Gray skies, windy, winter is here. This is what goes for winter in the Ozarks. It's cold. It's like 30. It's windy. It's gray. All right. Less than a week. Less than a week. What are you doing? What are you doing? We have more people rolling in today for the activities. It strikes me that this is a good time for you to do a test run. If you have a crew, if you have family that plans to come together in times of trouble, I recommend you come together. Practice this weekend. No notice, right? Because today's Friday, and you're going to call them up and say, hey, why don't we all get together at whatever, and we'll do a sleepover for the whole weekend. And then extend it, perhaps. Have the ability to extend it through the week, if you deem that necessary. We have people flowing in any minute now. What time is it? Oh, hour and a half. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Gathering of the clans. Any of y'all ever go to that? Gathering of the clans? They were big back east. I don't see them so much out here in the Ozarks. Basically, it's a summertime activity, unfortunately, where all the Irish, Scottish type people get together and they have, is it caber tossing? The big telephone pole they throw, and they throw the rock thing up over top of the high jump bar, and bagpipes, lots of bagpipes, pipers. And why I say unfortunately, they do it in the summertime because everybody can come, that, you know, kids are out of school, that kind of thing. But, you know, they're wearing stuff that Norm is familiar with probably, you know, Scotland attire, where it's like this a lot of the time. And, you know, they have their knee-high wool socks and their wool kilts, real kilts, with the thing that drapes over your shoulder, like the wool blanket, and wool hats. And you know when these guys get together, they're drinking pretty heavy at night. I've seen so many heat casualties at those things amongst the participants. But I just like it because it's good food, it's good people watching, it's fun to see some of the activities, and I love the sound of the pipes. Oh, yes, I do. Rebel pipes. I was watching on Netflix the other day. What was it called? Manhunt or something? It was about the Atlanta Olympics bombing thing, Richard Jewell, and how he got a raw deal, and the FBI basically convicted him without charging him in the press, and the press was complicit. And then it segues into the real bomber, Eric Rudolph, and I know a fair bit about that. I followed it. He was hanging out with a lot of identity Christians at the time, a lot of hardcore just Christian mountain folk in, I think, North Carolina. And basically they came after him. They figured out it was him setting all these bombs off. And he was the one who brought, well, if you're not in law enforcement, you probably don't know. But he's the one who kind of developed and brought to the fore of law enforcement's mind what we call the secondary device. The first device is the first boom is to get everybody in to an area. And then analysis is done beforehand. This is where they're all going to stage their vehicles and ambulances and fire trucks and stuff. And then a certain time later, a second device goes off to get them. And he was the one who kind of started doing that. Now law enforcement takes other measures because of that. But he was also a survivalist, which is why I was really watching him. And he escaped into the middle of the national forest, and they chased him for a long time. And they ended up putting $1 million reward on him. Bo Greitz went out there looking for him, that publicity hound. And so I kind of followed it. They caught him. He was sentenced to like 4 life sentences without parole. He's in a supermax. Basically, he's in a hole in the ground. And so I'm watching it. They get to the mountain people that are out there, militia types, and typical Hollywood stereotypical tripe. Although they made the leader seem like a nice human guy. He loves his wife. He's big. He's bold. He's not stupid. But then they had Eric Rudolph get taken in because people believe he had help while he was evading a lot of help. And so he gets taken in by these 2 old geezers living out in a shack in the middle of the woods nobody knows about. And long story short, he kills them. He murders them. He never did that. And it was done. So that's where I quit watching the series. I just went, pfft, and quit watching. I have no idea what the rest of the series is like. Won't. They did that to try and show Eric is totally evil, because I think they looked at it, the editors, and said, he's getting to be too likable, and Americans are going to relate to this guy who's flaunting the law, and he's out there living in the woods, and dun-dun-dun. So let's make him evil. Let's make him betray his own people. Freaking media. They ruin everything, man. But hidey holes. People. You have a hidey hole? If you had to bolt today from your house for whatever reason, do you have a place to go? Have you thought about that? For God's sake, don't say it here on the interwebs where that is. But do you have a place? That in itself is even kind of a rhetorical question. You should have a place to go. And right now, I don't think anyone here, unless you're like some high muckety-muck in some weird organization, I don't think you have anything to fear. But the way this situation could devolve rapidly, wherever you are, you may need to have a bug-out plan. Sound familiar? To flee. Minutes ahead of the cavalry. I was working with at the time, classified unit of the Department of Justice. We helped start that unit, developed all their courses from their selection course to their basic and advanced, and the specialty courses like VIP and advanced medical and sniper training. We put together their whole POI for a unit that became known as BORTAC. And we were talking to those guys, and they were after somebody who was an American who was facilitating the flow of drugs into the country, the physical flow. And he lived in a little place out near the edge of a national forest. And so they set up the raid and they went in after him. Bad setup of the raid because they went in the front door. They had nobody at the back. And he popped out the back, and it was I don't know how much of the story is apocryphal or not, but they went in and his breakfast was still on the table, and he had run out the back and disappeared. And laying on that same table was all this booby trap devices that he'd been working on. And he ran into his woods, and they decided right then, we're not chasing that guy into his woods. And he got away, but they caught him eventually. They knew who he was. So yeah, do you have a get out plan? Because unfortunately you may need it. And the time, like most things, to work on that plan is now. While you're well fed, well rested, well coffeed, and you have time to think about your plan, to war game it, to come up with various courses of action, good parts, bad parts, weigh them, mitigate them, come up with a plan. You may need a plan. Or you can do the Wolverines thing. Not my style, right? So that's the big takeaway today. Start practicing with your people, whoever your people are. If you don't have people, maybe you start by this weekend. Why don't you come over, bring the kids over, we'll have a barbecue, and kids can spend the night. We'll do a slumber party. Y'all can stay in the guest room. We'll have a good dinner and a great breakfast in the morning. You know, that's how you get people to stay over, right? That kind of thing. I don't know. Let's practice a winter without electricity drill at our house. You know, we're gonna roast marshmallows and I don't know, whatever. We got people coming in. We're getting ready. They may be going home on Thursday. Okay. What do they say? Better a week too early than a second too late? You should be topped off now. You should be. Everything should be, you know, status. What is that? Green? Everything's in the green? It's snowing. It's snowing. It's a rarity here in the Ozarks. But yeah, it's snowing. All right. Mind your P's and Q's. Keep your nose to the wind, but not so much to the wind. This is a theme I'd like to hit again too, and then I'll let you guys go. Short video today. Don't be buried in the internet. It's easy to get sucked in and start hyperventilating and believing all the conspiracy theories, the ones you really want to be true and the ones you fear may be true, right? Both sides. Did you hear? You should be doing more doing and less hearing, right? So that's what I recommend you do. Get out there and do things. Take steps. Police up your place. Bring in more firewood. Cut more firewood. Whatever. You know what you need to do. People. It's not too late to do some stuff with people. Start forging some relationships. All right. I really have a lot of stuff to do today, so I wish you well. Have a lovely weekend, and I will see you again, be it the Father's will, on first day, Sunday. All right. I'll see you out there.